Morning Dig Friends, this is Mike Edwards and I'm here in the UK. Bit of a crazy place at the moment. Lots going on and yeah, it's crazy times for all of us, and the best thing we can do is keep our sanity by playing didgeridoo. And I promised some of you that I'd do a little tutorial about the way I use the toots, horn notes, some people call them overtones, in my rhythms. And I'm going to start by giving you some of the basics, the very basics. And everything starts obviously with the instrument. Now, you can play the toots on pretty much all instruments, but some are much easier than others to get the sound from. I choose instruments that are a very simple tapered shape. A flare, slight flare at the end, perfect mouthpiece at the top, and I don't like instruments which are too bulbous, too huge. These instruments with massive great bells don't really do it for me, and also they can be quite difficult to get the overtones on unless you've got a small mouthpiece. So yeah, the instrument is crucial. This is a beautiful traditional one by Bibibak Munungur, and yeah, I love it. It's just the perfect shaped instrument for my playing style. It's in the key of F, and that's another important thing to remember, that the key also is important when you're trying to get the overtones, especially if you're trying to do faster rhythms. And so you're probably looking for something, E flat upwards to about G, maybe F sharp. G can be harder as well, because you're starting to get a lot of back pressure, and sometimes it can be harder to get the overtones or the toots on those. So anything from E flat to about F sharp with the right shaped instrument is pretty much perfect. What you're doing when you're playing that toot note is changing your embouchure. You're changing the way you blow from the buzzed sort of drone note to that other sound, that clearer trumpet sound. And to do that requires your lips and your tongue in some cases. So I'm just going to explain how I do it. Obviously other players have different techniques, different approaches. There are also differences between contemporary playing styles and traditional playing styles, but the basics remain the same. So to transition from the drone to the toot, I am tightening my lips. Diddle, 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 diddle. That's literally just with tightening the lips. I can also use my tongue. And there, it's rather like you're spitting something from the end of your tongue. If you've eaten a grape or anything and you get some pips on your tongue, you're sort of spitting them out. also what I'm doing there is adding, I'm pushing the air out, but I'm doing it almost in the back of my throat, like clicking. And also, what I'm doing there is I'm breathing actually on the horn note. That can take a bit of time to get used to. Interestingly, I found getting the toot, getting the horn, really difficult to begin with. And I suppose that's why it's become such an important part of my playing, because I spent so much time trying to master it. And also, for those of you who know, I used to play in a band called Axis with Mike Jackson. And Mike Jackson is probably one of the best exponents of this technique in contemporary playing. I mean, you should check out, if you haven't heard him, you should check it out. It's quite phenomenal what he can do. Now, so breathing on that horn note can take time, but it adds a different dimension to your playing, because you're actually breathing on that pulse, so you can create some really fancy rhythms. Also, if you're playing, you can play, sorry, you might be able to hear someone's got a leaf blower. The Assault on Nature. So another technique is actually not so much tightening your lips, but using your lips as a way to create tension. So you go from the drone and you pull your lip, your bottom lip back, or push your front lip forward. It doesn't really matter, but it just creates a tightness. And this is how it sounds. So the key is that creating a different dynamic between the tongue and the lips, creating a tension, but not too much tension. A lot of beginners, when they're starting this, well, understandably, it's not a mistake, but think that all these techniques have to be almost overdone. The subtlety is key, because when you start playing the horn, you're going to be going. I've seen people almost collapse trying to get that horn note, but it's not. It's a very subtle movement, a very subtle change. Okay, and obviously something that's so key in all dig playing is the rhythm, and I find the horn notes create a really nice structure, creates a beat to the rhythm, and that's how I sort of tend to use them. It's a punctuation mark. It's like a sentence. A sentence without punctuation, you get lost in it. Okay, there are some great writers who have learnt to avoid the use of punctuation in some of their prose, but for most of us, we need punctuation, we need structure. And this is one thing that I find is sometimes missing in dig playing, is that structure. Now, I'm probably a bit too structured in my playing, and you could criticize it and say it can become a bit relentless and boring. But structure is so key for me as a listener and as a player. Even if you like unstructured playing styles, give it a go. Put in those horn notes as a beat, as something to grab people's attention. So that's the basics. I'm more than happy to explore this in more detail if anyone's found this useful, and some of my other playing styles. I'm moving towards a more, what would one say, a hybrid playing style between contemporary and traditional. But I'm finding that a lot of those techniques I learned as a contemporary player, especially with the horn note, with the toot, a really important part of traditional playing. And yeah, it's just another avenue to explore, because we all want to maintain our interests. But yeah, I'll just play you out with that particular technique, which this one, as I say, is more of the tongue. So did you. Thanks for listening.